I want to share with you that the power of LinkedIn is the ability to connect and start conversations with the right people. That's not a surprising statement by any means. It's not a profound statement either. It's just understood. However, what we need to look at in terms of how can we keep people attached to and connected to us, it's about putting the content. It's about this news feed and how much news feed we can provide, or how much information we can provide to a market to generate or create connectivity. So let's go holistically through this process, right? We've been reaching out, sending messages. We've been asking people to connect with us on LinkedIn. We're sending that first message. The message is clear in terms of, we recognize that you might not be able to sleep at night because you don't have proper financing for your business. We see that as an understanding, and now we have that message. The first thing that I do, is, let me share my screen with you as well. So I have a couple people that obviously they've reached out to me. They've either extended an offer to connect with me, or I've sent something to them. So if I'm looking at Aaron Liat, for instance, what I normally do is I go and look at their profile here, right? So this gives me who they are. And then if I have Sales Navigator, I want to see this in Sales Navigator because it'll also indicate the other activity that he's been doing inside of LinkedIn or inside of the web as a whole. He might say here that he's, a Forbes, HuffPost, TechCrunch, Fox, Uber, Lyft. He's like connected to these promo affiliates. But really, what is this telling me about him? We have mutual connections, right? And people have a tendency not only to look at this, but to look at some of these links and conversations of where he's been, right? So I have this link right here, Forbes, how this entrepreneur brought millions of new users using coupons, right? So there's a story there. And I want you to think about this in terms of what's on what's inside of your world, right? What articles are you putting in order to attract people based on the news feed? Because most people, if they're on LinkedIn, they're looking at two things: connections, messages, or connections and messages, kind of all one and the same. And then they're like looking through the news feed, similar to like what they do on Facebook because they're scrolling, right? So what is it that we provide that stops them? So now I know, Carrie, you asked, or Teresa, you asked me a little bit earlier, Carrie, you asked me a little bit earlier, what is it that attracts businesses to Lendio? Well, we've talked a lot about that in terms of the small business kit, certain information attached to that small business kit in terms of accounting. Andy, you and I had this conversation. Can you hear me, Andy?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yep. So we had talked about, in the past, we had talked about different items that are attracting people to Lendio, or value propositions that Lendio offers to the marketplace. And we talked about a better understanding of finances, both financing, both traditional, non-traditional, right? And you told me you were reaching out to a lot of accountants, if I'm not mistaken.
I did, yes.
Tell me a little bit more about what that process has looked like and how you've been able to build value for those accountants now that we've been doing this for a few weeks.
Yeah, I get a lot of connections. I changed the other day and reached out to bankers with the tune of, I know how hard it is when you have to turn somebody down for a loan. And I've gotten more response back that way. And so I've kind of changed who I've been going after.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about that. So now you've changed the direction to bankers. The message seems to be relating. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Have you been able to schedule? Have you been able to sit down and have conversations with some of those people that you're talking to through LinkedIn?
Yeah. A fellow's going to send me a lead off of it.
Awesome.
One of the well, he says he is. But he just through talking.
Then it's follow up, right? Follow up.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally understand. So what do you feel in terms of content that can be positioned on a time or a news feed or a timeline like this? Would you feel, based on your conversation specifically with a banker, would provide value to them so that they can see even more about you before you have that first initial conversation? Tell me about that sales cycle, what that looks like.
Are you saying something that I would put on my LinkedIn page?
Well, tell me about the sales cycle, and then we can develop the content that you can put on your LinkedIn feed or that the post that you can create right here.
Yeah. So ideally what happens is that with bankers, they'll get customers that come in that the bank won't allow them to finance them.
Right.
So then, I say, well, I'm giving you an option for those customers.
Yep.
So that you just don't have to turn them away and not give them any option. And so then at that point, they'll potentially, hopefully reach out to me with potential leads.
So are you having conversations like alternative lending practices with the banker themselves? I'm just thinking like in terms of a banker, if your pitch to them is, have you had customers that have been turned away because of the inability to help them get funding? What information in your mind would be beneficial to share here, especially as you're starting to grow this new connection base of other bankers or lenders?
Yeah. So what I do is I tell them a little bit about Lendio, and then I tell them, my goal is to get them funded and get them where they're able to come back to the bank to continue on with their funding needs.
Gotcha. Okay. So in terms of timeline here, what's the type of post that what I'm saying is what I would suggest, I'm trying to draw this out of you, but maybe I can help you out a little bit. What I'm saying here is in terms of content here, I would totally create a post about that. Just said, had a great conversation with a banker the other day and found that they are having some struggles with lending to certain types of businesses and organizations. And we found a solution for, we're finding that there are solutions. And I might even put here, quite frankly, I might even use here some testimonial videos that Lendio's already created, some of those video assets inside of YouTube.
I got you.
And now that becomes a place where people can see the videos, see the testimonials, relate and correlate a cool story to what franchise owners of Lendio are talking about to help build that story, build that connectivity, because facts tell, but stories sell, right? So the more we can position in context of this news feed content from a story perspective, it'll change the dynamic of how it's being used. So what I would do, I'd go to YouTube, I find a video that is a testimonial of Lendio, throw that to them, and or if you've already had that conversation, quite frankly, I would go find from a messaging perspective, I would go find a video that validates what you're talking about and send that to them in a message right here. Say, hey, I know we had this conversation the other day, but let me share with you some experiences that we had with some clients that have worked with Lendio to receive that funding.
Mm-hmm.
And then share that here. So you're sharing it here in the message, you're sharing it on your timeline, and you're writing some content to help people see the value of what you're seeing. So it's the concept of planting and picking at the same time, right? You're reaching out, you're sending those messages, but at the same time, you're leveraging those messages to build similar messages through your news feed to show people that you're there, you're in the market, that you're relevant. So that's one, right? Different types of practices of lending. If it's a tax accountant, it might even be the same information. If you're bringing in new tax accountants, again, one of the things that they will see as they engage with you when they scroll this news feed, if they just became a new connection of yours, you'll see their content here, or they will see your content here, both ways.
I mean, I have quite a few connections. I mean,
Sure.
I get quite a few connections.
Yeah. So I would say leverage that content. So that's another thing. Let's talk about business tools, right? maybe if I'm a business owner and I'm in a place where I'm stuck, what other things could be beneficial that could be shared here? Maybe better ways of managing people, right? Maybe it's content in terms of really understanding your purpose statement and understanding the value associated with that. Maybe it's an article on marketing. I mean, I want you to think in terms of the business owner, right? And the banker. So banker, obviously, I think we've got a pretty good approach for. We're getting some momentum there. At tax accountants, you're sending similar messages there. But now if we're talking the actual customer, what is on the mind of the customer? What specifically are they going through, and how can we leverage content to help them, give them some value for what they're going through? Goes back to the idea we talked about probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And a great way of sharing that you care is by giving stuff to them in a way that provides value to them. Now, in terms of LinkedIn, LinkedIn is obviously different than other platforms. You can share links inside of this, and you still get a similar amount of organic reach. Whereas other platforms like Facebook, for instance, if you send an external link, it shuts down the organic reach. I would be very testimonial based, experience based in terms of here are the experiences that I've had with images. You know, you'll notice if you go to some of these posts that don't have any images, which you rarely see, but if you do see the ones that don't have any images, they don't really do a lot for us. Well, none of these do, right? Mm-hmm. Every single one has a picture. So make sure you're adding pictures to the process. Sending links to the process. These are right. I mean, you're seeing the flow. Now, I think the other thing that's really, quite frankly, a huge opportunity is video assets. Every single one of these has a picture of some sort. Well, there's one that's just a link. All of these have some sort of a picture associated with them, right? So again, proper context. When we share something, we need to make sure it has some context, has good imagery to capture the attention of those people that are scrolling just like I am right now. And something like this is way too much. I guess it's a resume of somebody. Not sure why it's on a public profile. Kind of crazy, okay? So think about where your passion is in terms of Lendio, how that relates to your target demographic, and then share content that relates to your target demographic. That's in your passion zone, so you're not talking about something you don't know anything about. I think that's the key. That's the key component to it. As you do that, it will change the dynamic of how people see you and the relevance they see you in the marketplace. And it's the difference of this news feed right here is what I would call the planting. And the other portion of that is the picking. So individual messages is the picking, and this part is the planting. What questions do you guys have? Any questions in terms of that? Go back to the
I don't.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is third-party software apps that you can leverage to help. This one is a big one. It's called Datanyze Insider. Datanyze Insider gives pretty cool information of things that you can use when you're having conversations with some of these businesses. So basically what you do is you go to a website. I'll just pull one up here. Eastern, this is a medical center here close. If I go and I open up this website, intent-based search, and I pull up this right here, it gives me quite a bit of information in terms of, well, the year it was founded, the number of employees, the Alexa rank, which means the rank of their website in terms of relevance. It shows me what their revenue is. It shows me what their tech spend is. Now, what I think is interesting is they're a $500 million to $1 billion company, and they're only spending a little bit in tech. Of course, I'm going to think that's a little interesting. But what can we learn from this for you? You can learn what their revenue is, gain a better understanding. You can go in and look at, this is all digital tech stuff. Let me go back. You can find out who the main contact is for these specific organizations. So if you're trying to get in front of someone specifically, you can go in and look them up. You can go down here to news to see if they're in the news, see if there's any articles or anything we can pull from the news, things like that. Let's do this. Andy, can you give me an example of someone that you have a lead for, or you might be having a conversation with? What company? The name of a company?
Yeah, how do I get back to my page?
Just tell me that you have it.
Yeah, a good one would be Lynn Cooper Auto. They're in Clinton, South Carolina. They're someone I'm working with right now.
Okay, so let's look at this and just see what we can learn from this. Is it Cooper Motor Company? Is that the right one?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Okay. So we go in here, right? You're trying to have a conversation. You're trying to figure out the best way where you can provide value to them. Is that for lending for the organization, or is it lending for the people that walk into the company? Meaning they're wanting to buy a vehicle from Cooper Motor Company.
No, I'm talking to the owner.
Okay. So he's looking to find a way to buy a larger fleet so he can sell more vehicles, right?
He needs money for his floor plan to
expand.
Well, just to pay for his cars, I think, that are on the lot right now. So.
Okay. So
no news.
So you can see they're a company of $0 to $1 million in revenue. They're a local business, privately held, right? Number of employees. How does that benefit you? Let's just talk through that, Andy. Does it?
Not really too much. I don't think so.
That doesn't benefit you. Let's think through this process. What?
I don't think
does it matter the revenue that they have in terms of lending? So
yeah, the revenue does. Yeah, because that will help to potentially help to determine how much money he could possibly get a loan for.
In terms of the high end, so if he's only $1 million company in revenue, that's obviously going to change. But this is saying it's just a range, right? 0 to $1 million is a huge, broad spectrum. But yeah, what does?
I see his revenues are a lot different than that, based off his bank statements. He's doing $25 million.
Huh. Okay. So that's not accurate. All right, Datanyze Insider, you're not helping us out much here. You'd think it would. You'd think it would. And these obviously are two people that you don't even need to talk to because you're talking to somebody else, right?
Yeah, he's not there.
Well, scratch that idea.
I may not giving you a good choice.
Nope, that wasn't a good choice. Give me another one. See if we can pull something else out because that didn't work for me.
I'm trying to think who else I can give you. Do A+ pallets. It's A, not don't spell out plus. Do a plus sign. They're out of Spartanburg. There it is.
Let's see if this does anything for us. Oh man, they need a new website. You can connect.
If they don't have a website, it doesn't work.
No, I'm just saying they need a new website.
Oh.
But it's not reporting any data in terms of doesn't show any revenue data, so that's not going to be helpful either. Well, that's not great. Let me pull this up real quick. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to pull up this previous presentation that we did. There's some other third-party software programs. I want to review back how to leverage these. Yeah, that didn't work out so well, did it, Andy?
That's all right. I mean, most of these companies are coming down for money for a reason. So.
Yeah, right. Okay, let me go down here to the end of this presentation.
If they could get money at a bank, they wouldn't be calling us.
So. That's right. There we go. Let me share my screen with you here real quick. Oh, I want it from the beginning. Let me skip through these real quick. Oh, let me try this one more time. Hold on a second. Here we go. So here's another software program, 360social.me. Now again, if you're trying to talk to certain people, you can go in and find those certain people. Let me show you how it works. So let's say Oscar, right? Before we did this, I looked at Oscar's profile, showed us his LinkedIn profile, and then I pulled up this 360social.me, and it shows me their online activity. Shows me the different scores, and we can do that really with anybody, right? The Charlie app.
What's mine?
Let's do it. I think I still have the three. Let me double check and make sure I have the 360 social still on here. In my, I don't have that extension. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let's go to Andy. Oh, that's pulling up.
It's gonna be you want my last name?
Where's my
RONE N as in Nancy, M as in Mary, US.
Right there.
There. Yep.
Let me do this real quick. Now these are all Chrome extensions that you can leverage. Let's go 360. If I could spell.
Are these free sites or you have to pay for them?
This one should be a free one.
A free one?
At least the extension should be free. What if they changed their name since we last did this? Let's do it this way. I cannot type today. Here we go. So here it is. Here's the 360social.me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go pull up Andy. Not yet. Just browse. Interesting. Why is it not giving this to me now? It used to be available because I used it to pull that up. Let's see.
It said not yet available for this browser. So I don't know if you're on
Chrome browser, and that's the one that I was using before. SOCIL. I wonder if they changed it. Let's check it with Lucia. So all right, Lucia, so pull up yours. Oops, Andy's. All right, guys, give me just a second here. I just log in. Okay, I've created the account. Let's just look at this real quick, see what it does. All right, let's see if this finally. All right, here we go. Back to LinkedIn. Here we go. Sorry for the delay. All right, Andy. Let me share my screen again with you guys. Here we go. Couldn't find the profile information on this account. Andy, do you have your phone number and things on this in your LinkedIn account?
Oh, that's it. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
If I do or not.
Let me pull up another one, buddy of mine. Let's see what Lucia has. So this is how you can, looks like what this pulls is information. So Lucia, what it does is if you find the person you're trying to get in front of, it gives you name and information for that person you're trying to talk to. Let me go look at, let me just open up a profile of somebody that I was talking to. Let's talk to Hillary Murphy, someone we're trying to recruit for our company. Just see what it says here. Could not find. So if it's there, if the information's there, then it'll find it. If not, obviously, then it won't. But that's a good way of leveraging that. Now let me show you one more quick hack. I don't know if I've showed this to you, but let me show you really quick how to export your list. So your email list. So what you do basically is you go into your profile. Let me zoom over to my profile real quick. You go over here to connections, see my connections. So you come over here to the connections that you have. Let's see, I'm going to just close this out. Add options. Go away progression. Submit. Okay. So you have your whole list of people. Where did my bar come up? I usually have a bar on this right hand side. All right, let's see. Let me show you the process. Show it to you this way just in case it takes a minute. Okay. So you go into your connections like this. Let me share. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you go to your connections on the right-hand side in the LinkedIn. Oops. It's changed on me. Manage synced and imported connections. Used to be on the highlighted page, but let's do this. I'm going to go into my settings. Settings and privacy. Manage or you can download your data right there. You can pick and choose what you want to download. So let's just say I want to download the connections. I can request an archive, and then that will give me a list of all of the people that I'm connected to in terms of my network. So if I go back to my network, my circle of influence, if I go into my specific circle of influence and see all my connections like I just did before, it'll export and download all of those names, and if they have contact information, email and phone number, it'll export those as well. So you can use something like Lucia if you want to, but this right here, so where my connections, it'll export and give me all of the information that I'm looking for that at least is relevant on LinkedIn that I can leverage. All right, Lucia, stop for a minute. So it'll give me information about Jared Taylor and Clint Nelson and Byron Lee, Adam Briggs, Deborah Palmer. It'll give me that information that I'm looking for. And then I can take and scrape it. And if I go in here into my documents, I'll show you what the end result looks like. So if I open it up, pull it up over here. There's that. There's the phone numbers as well. basically what this is doing is it's giving me first name, hold on a minute, there we go, first name, last name, email, company they're with, shorten this up a little bit, position, and then when I connected with them. Name, email, company, position of the company, and the date that I connected with them. So if you're trying to, if you have specific people that you're connecting with, you can always go in and find their emails, and then you have to be careful, right? Because you can't just spam people, but at least it gives you an idea of how to reach out to them outside of just LinkedIn. If you start spamming people and just sending them messages directly, that's a violation from a company perspective, obviously, of this new law that was passed not too long ago. But it does give you the opportunity to send them a quick message or at least learn more about them. Now, one thing that I always recommend doing if you are going to start leveraging other ad products, or even if you know some of these people, you just don't know their email address, you can definitely go this way. One thing that I like to use is I like to leverage this to help me create momentum in terms of a target market that I can use for other ad products like Facebook ad product, to put a story or put a message, if I were you, if you were going to run Facebook ads, for instance, in your market, I would leverage a LinkedIn video, a testimonial video to create some brand awareness, create some targeting mechanisms around taking this email list, importing this into Facebook's product to create a lookalike audience, and then running that testimonial video against the lookalike audience to see what type of a result you can get, and building some of that brand awareness. Extremely powerful play in terms of what that looks like and how that works. We've seen some significant great results from something like that. So a couple different hacks that you can use. I apologize. I felt like there was some that weren't working the way that I thought it used to. 360 Social, when I do this presentation in July, this is different than what it was before. You can look at the Charlie app. What the Charlie app will do is it'll help you. Let me go down. This one right here. I guess it's detective now. You've hired your sales reps to sell. Now do the research. Automate the hours of call prep prospecting you wish your reps had time to do. So you can request a demo, get some insider information on this. But basically what happens is it combs through hundreds of sources and automatically sends you a one page with everyone you're going to meet with before you even see them. So you've reached out, you've made a connection, you struck up a dialogue, you know the name of the person, you leverage this detective or Charlie app, and then this Charlie app gives you a lot more information and detail on their online social profile of who they are and what they're doing, so that when you actually sit down and have a conversation, you have a lot to talk about. Like I said, versus just talking about the weather. So kind of cool. So those are some social media hacks. I'm happy to send you this presentation. I think you have it. You probably still have it from before, but if you'd like access to that presentation again, you didn't get it before, happy to send that to you. In terms of leveraging LinkedIn, and I've shared this with you many times, the number one key is do something, right? Reach out continuously, make connections with people so that they feel like you're connecting with them authentically. You're planting seeds throughout this whole process. I'd say take 10 to 15 minutes a day is all you need to build a good, solid followership on LinkedIn and start to generate revenue from that. And just like you said, Andy, you got to find your niche, right? You got to find where you play the best. And once you find that place, stay in that vein until it doesn't work anymore, and then take a chance and try something else. Yep. Use this. I know Carrie and Teresa were talking a little bit earlier. Use this to drive people to these local events that you're doing. Reach out and extend the invitation. They'll come.
Sounds good.
So thanks everybody for being with us. We'll be with you as always. and I'll get this recording over to you.